The morning sun rose over the mining colony on Kepler 442b, but Commander Hyunwoo felt no warmth from its light. He stood on the observation deck of the command center, watching the last transport ship disappear into the sky. Most of the civilians were gone now, but 50,000 souls still remained on the planet. They had nowhere else to go. Hyunwoo pressed his hand against the cold metal window. Below him, the colony spread across the valley like a small city. Mining towers reached toward the sky, their lights still blinking as automated systems continued their work. The people down there trusted him to keep them safe. He wondered if he could. "Sir, we have a problem." Minho's voice came from behind him. Hyunwoo's second-in-command looked tired. They all did these days. What now? Hyunwoo turned away from the window. Long-range sensors picked up something big. Really big. Minho handed him a data pad. 200 ships, maybe more. They'll be here in 6 hours. Hyunwoo studied the numbers on the screen. His heart sank. The colony's defense fleet had 12 patrol ships. Good ships, but old. Built for pirates and smugglers, not a real military force. Any word from Earth Fleet? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Minho shook his head. Yoonji is still trying. The communication relay stations were hit first when the Dominion started their expansion. We're too far out here. Even if they got our message, help would take weeks to arrive. Hyunwoo walked to the tactical display in the center of the room. Red dots showed the approaching enemy fleet. Blue dots showed their own ships, so few they barely registered on the screen. "Get me Taemin," he said. A few minutes later, the young pilot appeared on the communication screen. Taemin sat in the cockpit of his fighter, already suited up for battle. "Commander, my squadron is ready. All 12 ships. Oh, Taemin, I need you to understand something. Those ships coming at us are Dominion warships. Each one is bigger than our entire defense station." The pilot's face was calm. "I understand, sir." "What are your orders?" Hyunwoo felt proud and sad at the same time. These people were willing to die for strangers. That was what made them different from the Dominion. For now, stay close to the planet. Use the mining platforms for cover. Don't engage until I give the word. "Yes, sir." The screen went dark. Hyunwoo looked around the command center. Yoonji sat at her communication station, still trying to reach anyone who might help. Nayoung had turned the medical bay into an emergency treatment center. Everyone was doing their job, but everyone knew the truth: they were going to die today. "Sir," one of the sensor operators called out. "The enemy fleet is sending a message." Put it on screen. The main display filled with the image of a tall, thin alien. Its skin was gray and its eyes were black. This was Admiral Vextar of the Dominion fleet. Hyunwoo had seen his picture in the intelligence reports. "I am Admiral Vextar. You are in possession of a planet that belongs to the Dominion Empire. You have 24 hours to surrender. All military personnel will be executed. Civilians will be relocated to work camps. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. The command center was quiet for a moment. "Well," Minho said, "at least he's honest about what he wants to do to us." Hyunwoo almost smiled. "Get me a colony-wide channel." A few seconds later, Unji nodded. "You're on, sir. This is Commander Hyunwoo speaking to all residents of Kepler Colony. As you know, a Dominion fleet is approaching our world. They have demanded our surrender. They promise to execute our defenders and enslave our people." He paused, looking out the window at the colony below. "I want everyone to know that we have a choice. We can surrender and hope they keep their word. Or we can fight. If we fight, some of us will die. Maybe all of us. But we will die free." Another pause. "I've made my choice. I'm going to fight. But I won't ask anyone else to die for my decision. If you want to leave, the transport ships will keep running until the last possible moment. If you want to stay and fight, report to your emergency stations." He nodded to Yoonji, who cut the transmission. For the next hour, they watched the sensors. Some transport ships left the planet, carrying the last civilians who chose to go. But more people reported to defense stations than left. Humans, aliens, miners, engineers, teachers, shop owners. They came with hunting rifles and mining tools and determination. Nayoung's voice came over the intercom. "Medical Bay to command. We're ready for casualties." Engineering to command, Minho added. "All defense platforms are online. Mining lasers have been converted to weapons. It's not much, but it's something." Taemin checked in from space. "Fighter squadron ready, Commander. We've got some volunteers flying cargo ships with mining charges attached. They want to help." Hyunwoo felt something he hadn't expected to feel. Pride. These people had every reason to run, but they stayed. They stayed to fight beside strangers for a world that wasn't even their home. Unji, any luck with the distress signal? She shook her head. I'm broadcasting on all frequencies, but I'm not getting any response. If anyone out there can hear us, they're not answering. Keep trying. 6 hours later, the Dominion fleet arrived. Their ships were massive, dark shapes against the stars. Each one could probably destroy the entire colony by itself. There were so many of them that they blocked out part of the sky. Admiral Vextar's face appeared on the screen again. Your time is up, Commander. What is your decision? Yunwu stood up straight. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations. Good people doing their duty even when death was certain. Admiral Vextar, I have a message for you from the people of Kepler Colony. He paused, making sure his words would be clear. Go to hell. The transmission ended. For a moment, space was quiet and still. Then the Dominion fleet began to move toward the planet and the war began. 3 days had passed since the fighting began. Commander Hyunwoo stood in the ruins of what used to be the colony's main communication tower. Smoke still rose from the twisted metal. The Dominion had hit it on the first day, along with most of the other important buildings. How many ships do we have left? He asked Minho. His second-in-command looked at his datapad. His uniform was torn and dirty. They all looked like that now. 7 patrol ships still flying. Tai Min has 3 fighters left from his squadron. The mining platforms are holding, but barely. Hyunwoo nodded. It was better than he had expected, but not by much. The Dominion had lost some ships too, but they had so many it didn't seem to matter. What about casualties? Na Young says the medical bay is full. We've lost about 400 people, mostly civilians who were helping with the defense platforms. 400 good people. Dead because they chose to fight instead of surrender. Yunwoo tried not to think about their families. Sir, one of the communication officers called out. We're getting strange readings from the long-range sensors. Hyunwoo walked over to the makeshift sensor station. Most of their good equipment was destroyed, so they were using mining scanners and cargo ship sensors. What kind of readings? The young officer, Wu Jin, pointed at his screen. I'm not sure, sir. It might just be interference from the planet's magnetic field. But there's a pattern to it, like someone is trying to send a signal. Can you clean it up? I'm trying, sir, but with this equipment. Wu Jin shook his head. It's just too weak. Keep working on it. An explosion shook the command center. Through the window, Hyunwoo could see one of the mining platforms burning. The Dominion was getting closer to the colony every day. Commander, a new voice said. Hyunwoo turned to see an older man walking toward him. This was Ji-hoon, a former Earth Fleet officer who had retired to the colony years ago. Ji-hoon, I thought you evacuated with your family. My family left. I stayed. The older man's voice was calm. Commander, I need to talk to you about something important. They walked to a quiet corner of the command center. Ji-hoon looked around to make sure no one else was listening. I served in Earth Fleet for 30 years. I still have contacts there. People who might listen if we could get a message through. Yunwoo felt a spark of hope. Our communication array is destroyed. I know, but there might be another way. Ji-hoon pointed toward the window. Outside, they could see the mining towers rising from the valley floor. This planet has unique mineral deposits. That's why the colony was built here. Those minerals interfere with electronics, but they can also amplify certain types of signals. You think we can use the mining equipment to boost our distress signal? Maybe. It's dangerous. We'd have to overload the mining lasers and use them like a giant transmitter. It might work, or it might just destroy what's left of our defenses. Hyunwoo thought about it. They were losing the battle anyway. Maybe it was worth the risk. How long would you need? 6 hours if Minho and his engineering team help me. Do it. The next few hours were the longest of Hyunwoo's life. The Dominion kept attacking, and his people kept fighting back. Tai Min's fighters flew dangerous missions to keep the enemy ships away from the mining towers. So Young worked without sleep to save the wounded. Everyone did more than they thought possible, but people kept dying. Commander, Wu Jin called out. I'm getting something on the sensors. The signal is stronger now. Hyunwoo hurried over to the sensor station. On the screen, he could see waves of energy coming from deep space. They looked random, but there was something about the pattern. Ji-hoon, he called. Come look at this. The former Earth Fleet officer studied the screen for a long time. His face was serious. This is old military code, he said finally. Really old. From the early days of Earth Fleet. I haven't seen this in 20 years. What does it say? Ji-hoon worked on the screen for several minutes, translating the signal by hand. When he looked up, his eyes were bright with tears. It says, hold on, help is coming. Admiral Sunwoo, 7th Fleet. The command center went quiet. Everyone had heard of Admiral Sunwoo. He was a legend in Earth Fleet. If he was coming, they had a real chance. How far away are they? Hyunwoo asked. Ji-hoon shook his head. I can't tell from this signal. Could be days, could be hours. Another explosion rocked the building. This one was closer. Through the window, they could see Dominion ground troops moving through the outer parts of the colony. Sir, Minho reported. We've lost the eastern defense grid. They're inside the perimeter. Hyunwoo looked around the command center. His people were tired, hurt, and scared, but they were still fighting. How's that signal amplifier coming? Almost ready, Ji-hoon said. But sir, we need to power it somehow. The main power grid is too damaged. What do you need? We'd have to overload the reactor in Section 7. It would give us enough power for one strong transmission, but it would also destroy that whole area of the colony. Hyunwoo thought about the people living in Section 7. Most of them had evacuated, but some were still there, fighting at the defense positions. Do it, he said. An hour later, they were ready. Hyunwoo stood before the makeshift transmitter that Ji-hoon and Minho had built from mining equipment and spare parts. This is Commander Hyunwoo of Kepler Colony to any Earth Fleet ships in range. He spoke into the microphone. We are under attack by a Dominion fleet of 200 ships. We have held them for 3 days, but we can't hold much longer. We have 50,000 civilians and limited defenses. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. He looked around the room. Everyone was watching him. We won't surrender. These people trusted us to protect them, and we won't let them down. But we can't do this alone. Ji-hoon powered up the transmitter. The mining towers outside began to glow with energy. Then with a sound like thunder, the signal burst out into space. The lights went out in Section 7. They had used up their last chance to call for help. Now what? Minho asked. Now we wait, Hyunwoo said, and we keep fighting. Outside, the Dominion ships moved closer to the colony, but somewhere in the darkness of space, their message was traveling toward home, carrying the hopes of 50,000 people who refused to give up. 1 week had passed since the siege began. Commander Hyunwoo sat in the emergency command center deep underground. The original command building was gone, destroyed by orbital bombardment 2 days ago. Half the colony was in ruins, but the people kept fighting. Status report, he said to Minho. His second-in-command looked exhausted. None of them had slept more than 2 hours at a time for days. We have 3 patrol ships left. Taemin's fighter is held together with spare parts and prayers. The eastern and northern defense grids are completely gone. Food supplies will last maybe 3 more days. Hyunwoo nodded. It was what he expected to hear, but it still hurt. Outside, he could hear the sound of explosions as the Dominion ground forces pushed closer to the colony center. What about the civilians? Na-young is organizing the evacuation of the underground shelters. If we can hold the Dominion off for another day, most of them can get to the emergency transports. And go where? Hyunwoo asked. The Dominion controls this whole sector now. Minho didn't answer. They both knew there was nowhere to run. Yoonji looked up from her communication station. She had dark circles under her eyes and her hands shook from too much caffeine. Commander, I'm still broadcasting the distress signal every hour, but I'm not getting any response from Earth Fleet. What about the signals Woojin picked up? The young sensor operator looked up from his screen. They're still there, sir. Stronger than before. But I can't make sense of them. Ji-hoon walked over from where he had been working on a damaged sensor array. Let me see. Woojin showed him the patterns on his screen. Ji-hoon studied them carefully, his face growing more serious. These aren't random, he said finally. Someone is trying to communicate. The patterns are too organized to be natural interference. Can you decode them? I'm trying, but it's difficult. The signal is very weak and there's a lot of interference from the planet's magnetic field. An explosion shook the underground command center. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Sir," one of the defense coordinators called out. "The Dominion is requesting communication. Put them on screen." Admiral Vexitar's face appeared on the main display. Behind him, Hyunwoo could see the bridge of a massive warship. The alien looked angry. "Commander Hyunwoo, you have caused enough trouble. My ships have taken damage. My soldiers have died. This ends now. What do you want, Admiral?" "Complete surrender. All military personnel will lay down their weapons immediately. The civilians will be processed for relocation. We've been through this before." "My answer hasn't changed." Vexitar's black eyes narrowed. "Then I will give you one more reason to reconsider. In 48 hours, I will activate my fleet's planet killer weapon. It will burn the surface of this world and everyone on it. Your only choice is surrender or death." The transmission ended. The command center was quiet for a moment. "Planet killer?" Minho asked. Ji-hoon nodded grimly. "I've seen the intelligence reports. The Dominion uses them to destroy worlds that won't surrender. It's not a quick death." Hyunwoo looked around the room. His people were scared, but they were still at their posts, still doing their jobs. "Yoonji, send a message to all remaining defense positions. Tell them about the ultimatum. Anyone who wants to evacuate with the civilians can go. No questions asked." "Yes, sir." "What about us?" Minho asked. "We stay. We keep fighting as long as we can." "Sir," Woojin called out excitedly. "I think I've got something." Everyone gathered around his sensor station. On the screen they could see wave patterns that looked almost like writing. "The signal is definitely artificial," he said, "and it's getting stronger. Whatever is sending it is getting closer." Ji-hoon worked with the patterns for an hour, using old Earth Fleet code books that he had kept from his military service. Finally, he looked up with tears in his eyes. "It's Admiral Sunwoo," he said. "He's 6 hours out with the 7th Fleet. He's telling us to hold on." The room erupted in cheers. People hugged each other and cried with relief. For the first time in a week, they had real hope. But Hyunwoo did the math in his head. 6 hours to reach them. 48 hours until the planet killer fired. If the Dominion started their final attack before the fleet arrived, there might not be anything left to save. "Get me Taemin," he ordered. The pilot's face appeared on screen. He was in his fighter, flying patrol around the last intact mining platform. "Commander, did you hear? Earth fleet is coming." "I heard. But they're still hours away. We need to buy them time. What do you need me to do?" Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display. The Dominion fleet was in orbit directly above the colony. Their planet killer weapon would be one of the big ships, probably the flagship. "I need you to find their planet killer and disable it." Taemin was quiet for a moment. "Sir, that's a suicide mission. My fighter can't get through their defenses, I know. I'm not ordering you to do it. I'm asking." Another pause. "Give me an hour to prepare." The screen went dark. Hyunwoo felt sick. He was sending a good man to die, and they both knew it. "Sir?" Nayoung's voice came over the intercom. "Medical Bay reporting. The civilian evacuation is almost complete. We're down to essential personnel only." "Thank you, Nayoung." "Commander," Ji-hoon said. "I'm picking up more signals from the fleet. They're sending detailed tactical information, battle plans, ship positions, coordination codes." "What does it mean?" "It means Admiral Sunwoo isn't just coming to rescue us. He's coming to fight." Over the next few hours, they prepared for what might be their last battle. Minho worked to get every remaining weapon online. Yoonji coordinated with the approaching fleet. Woojin tracked both the Dominion ships and the Earth fleet signals. As the deadline approached, Taemin launched his attack on the planet killer weapon. They watched on the sensors as his small fighter flew toward the massive Dominion ship. Enemy fighters swarmed around him, but somehow he made it through their defenses. "He's hit something," Woojin reported. "The big ship is venting atmosphere." On the screen, they could see explosions on the Dominion flagship. Taemin had damaged the planet killer, but his fighter was gone. "Did he make it out?" Hyunwoo asked. Woojin shook his head. "I'm not picking up his signal anymore. Another good person dead. Another hero who gave his life for people he had never met. But his sacrifice had worked. The planet killer was damaged. They had bought time." "Sir!" Yoonji called out. "I'm getting a transmission from Admiral Sunwoo." The screen filled with the image of an older human man in an Earth Fleet uniform. He had kind eyes and a strong voice. "Commander Hyunwoo, this is Admiral Sunwoo of the 7th Fleet. We see your situation. Hold your position. We're coming in fast. Admiral, they have a planet killer weapon. Not anymore, thanks to your pilot. We saw the whole thing. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen. How long until you arrive? 20 minutes. Can you hold that long? Hyunwoo looked around the command center. His people were tired and scared and outnumbered, but they were still fighting. We'll hold, Admiral. See you soon. Hang on, Commander. The cavalry is coming. Admiral Sunwoo stepped out of his shuttle onto the landing pad of Kepler Colony. The first thing he noticed was the smoke rising from damaged buildings throughout the valley. The second thing was the group of people waiting to meet him, dirty and tired but standing proud. Commander Hyunwoo walked forward and saluted. Admiral Sunwoo, thank you for coming. The Admiral returned the salute, then surprised everyone by pulling the younger man into a brief embrace. Commander, I've read the reports of what you did here. You held off 200 ships with 12 patrol boats and civilian volunteers. That's the kind of courage that makes me proud to wear this uniform. Around them, the colony was slowly coming back to life. Rescue ships landed every few minutes, bringing medical supplies and emergency food. Earth Fleet Marines helped civilian volunteers dig survivors out of collapsed buildings. The sounds of war were being replaced by the sounds of recovery. Admiral, Hyunwoo said, I need to introduce you to the people who really won this battle. He led Sunwoo to a group standing near the shuttle pad. Minho stepped forward first, his engineering uniform still stained with grease and smoke. This is Minho, my second in command. He turned mining equipment into weapons and kept our defense systems running when everything else failed. Sunwoo shook the engineer's hand. I've seen your work, Commander Minho. My technical staff wants to study your modifications. They say you did things with mining lasers that shouldn't be possible. Minho smiled tiredly. When your choice is innovation or death, sir, you find ways to make impossible things work. Next was Ji-hoon, the retired Earth Fleet officer who had helped coordinate their communications. Admiral, this man saved us all. Without his knowledge of the old fleet codes, we never could have contacted you. Captain Ji-hoon, Sunwoo said, reading the man's service record from his personal display. 30 years of service. I remember your work during the Centauri crisis. It's good to see you're still fighting the good fight. Some fights are worth coming out of retirement for, Admiral. Yoonji stepped forward next. She looked exhausted but determined. Communications Officer Yoonji, sir. She kept broadcasting our distress signal for 7 days straight without sleep. Sunwoo studied the young woman's face. Officer Yoonji, I understand you maintained communication with my fleet during the final battle. That coordination saved lives on both sides. I was just doing my job. Sir, you were doing it better than officers with 20 years of experience. They walked through the colony as Sunwoo met more of the defenders, Na-young, who had organized the civilian evacuation while treating wounded fighters, Woo-jin, whose sensor work had detected the Earth Fleet signals, Soo-jin, who had led civilian engineering teams in dangerous repair missions. But it was when they reached the memorial wall that Sunwoo became quiet. Someone had already begun carving names into a piece of metal, salvaged from the destroyed command center. Taemin's name was at the top. He died attacking the Dominion flagship, Hyunwoo said quietly, disabled their planet-killer weapon. If he hadn't made that sacrifice, you might have arrived to find nothing but burned ground. Sunwoo stood silently for a long moment. Then he turned to his aide, a young lieutenant named Hye-jin. Lieutenant, I want a full battle analysis of pilot Taemin's attack on the enemy flagship. His tactics should be studied at the Fleet Academy. Yes, sir. They continued walking through the colony. Everywhere Sunwoo looked, he saw the same thing. People of different species working together to rebuild. Humans and aliens, military and civilian, young and old. The Dominion had tried to destroy this place, but it was already growing stronger. Commander, Sunwoo said, I need to tell you something. This wasn't just a rescue mission. Hyunwoo looked at him curiously. Sir, the Dominion has been expanding for years, taking worlds and enslaving populations. Every government in this sector has been too afraid to fight back. But what happened here changes everything. They stopped at an observation point overlooking the main colony. Below them, Earth fleet ships worked alongside civilian vessels to clear debris and repair damage. You see, Sunwoo continued, news of your defense has already spread throughout known space. Every species in the galaxy is talking about the human colony that refused to surrender. About the Earth fleet that brought 500 ships to save 50,000 people. I don't understand. Admiral, Commander, in the past week, we've received 47 requests from alien governments asking to join the Human Alliance. They want the same protection you gave the refugees here. Hyunwoo stared at him. 47? Species that have been hiding from the Dominion for decades are suddenly willing to fight back. Because they know that when humans promise to protect someone, we keep that promise. A new voice interrupted them. Admiral Sunwoo? They turned to see a tall alien woman approaching. She wore the simple clothes of a refugee, but she walked with dignity. I am Kalavren, speaker for the Refugee Council. On behalf of all the non-human residents of this colony, I want to thank you for coming to our aid. Sunwoo nodded respectfully. Speaker Vren, we came to protect human colonists, but we stayed to protect everyone who lives here. That is why we wish to request formal citizenship in the Human Alliance. Our people have seen how humans treat those under their protection. We want to be part of that. I'll need to discuss this with Earth government, but I don't think that will be a problem. Later that evening, Sunwoo and Hyunwoo sat in the temporary command center that had been set up in the colony's main hall. Through the windows they could see the lights of Earth fleet ships in orbit, standing guard over the world they had fought to save. Admiral, Hyunwoo said, there's something I need to ask you. How did you assemble such a large fleet so quickly? The report said you were scattered across the galaxy. Sunwoo smiled. We were, but when your distress signal reached Earth, something happened that the Dominion didn't expect. Every ship commander in the fleet volunteered to come here. Ships that were on patrol duty abandoned their stations. Ships that were in for repairs launched with half their systems down. He paused, looking out at the stars. You see, Commander, the thing the Dominion never understood about humans is that we don't fight for territory or resources. We fight for each other. When one of our colonies calls for help, every ship in the fleet hears that call. But surely Command didn't authorize abandoning patrol routes and repair schedules. Command tried to stop us at first. They said we couldn't risk the entire fleet for one colony. But then the civilian ships started volunteering too. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, even private yachts. They all wanted to help. Sunwoo chuckled. In the end, Earth government had a choice. They could court-martial half the fleet for disobeying orders, or they could officially authorize the largest rescue mission in human history. They chose the rescue mission. They did. And they sent a message to every government in the galaxy. Attack a human world, and you don't just fight that world. You fight all of humanity. Through the night, they worked on plans for rebuilding the colony. It would be bigger than before, with permanent Earth fleet facilities and expanded civilian housing. The refugees who had come here seeking safety would stay as full citizens. The colony would become a symbol of human values, courage, sacrifice, and the refusal to abandon those who trusted them. As dawn approached, Sunwoo prepared to return to his flagship. The immediate crisis was over, but there was still work to do. The Dominion fleet was in custody. Their surviving crews would be repatriated, and their government would face consequences for their aggression. Commander, he said as he prepared to leave, I have an offer for you. Sir, Earth fleet needs officers like you, people who can inspire others to fight for something bigger than themselves. There's a promotion and a ship command waiting for you if you want it. Hyunwoo looked out over the colony he had defended. People were already working to rebuild, their faces showing hope instead of fear. Thank you, Admiral, but I think I'll stay here. These people trusted me to protect them. I'd like to keep doing that. Sunwoo nodded approvingly. I thought that's what you'd say. In that case, how would you feel about a promotion to Sector Commander? You'd be responsible for defending this entire region. I'd be honored, sir. As Sunwoo's shuttle lifted off, Hyunwoo stood on the landing pad watching it go. Around him, the colony continued its work of healing and growing. In the distance, he could see construction crews already breaking ground for new buildings. The Dominion had come here expecting an easy victory over a defenseless colony. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand. The determination of people who refused to abandon each other, no matter the odds, and throughout the galaxy, other species watched and learned what it meant to have humanity as an ally. The final assault began at dawn. Commander Hyunwoo watched from the underground command center as Dominion troops poured into the colony like a flood. Their ships had moved into low orbit, and their weapons lit up the sky with deadly fire. All remaining defense positions, this is command. He spoke into his microphone. Earth fleet is 20 minutes out. We just need to hold for 20 more minutes. 20 minutes. It sounded so short, but Hyunwoo knew it might as well be 20 hours. The Dominion had finally decided to finish this fight with everything they had. Sir, Minho reported. We've lost contact with the Western defense grid. The enemy is 3 blocks from the emergency shelters. Through the thick walls of the underground bunker, they could hear explosions getting closer. The Dominion was not just attacking the military positions now. They were destroying everything. Yunji, can you reach Nayang? Medical bay is not responding, sir. But I'm picking up emergency signals from the shelter systems. She's still moving civilians to the transport ships. Hyunwoo closed his eyes for a moment. Nayang was risking her life to save people who couldn't fight, just like everyone else who had stayed behind. Sir, Woojin called out from his sensor station. I'm getting massive energy readings from space. Something big is happening up there. On his screen, they could see the Dominion fleet moving into attack formation. All 200 ships were preparing to glass the surface of the planet. Admiral Vextar is getting impatient, Ji-hoon said grimly. If he can't have the planet, he's going to make sure nobody else can either. How long until they fire? Maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes until everything they had fought for was destroyed. 15 minutes until Earth fleet arrived. Commander? Yoonji's voice was shaking. I'm getting a priority transmission from Admiral Sunwoo. The screen filled with the Admiral's face. Behind him, Hyunwoo could see the busy bridge of a warship. Officers moved quickly at their stations, preparing for battle. Commander, we can see the Dominion fleet powering up their weapons. Are your people safe? Most of the civilians are in the emergency transports, but we can't launch them while the Dominion controls the orbital space. Understood. We're going to translate in directly on top of their fleet. It's dangerous, but it's the only way to get there in time. Translation drives were not meant to be used so close to a gravity well. Ships could be torn apart by the forces involved. But it was their only chance. Admiral, how many ships are you bringing? Sunwoo smiled. It was not a nice smile. All of them, Commander. Every ship we could find. The Dominion wanted a fight with humanity. They're going to get one. The transmission ended. Hyunwoo looked around the command center. His people were watching him, waiting for orders. Outside, the sounds of battle were getting closer. All stations, prepare for whatever comes next. Earth fleet is about to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human colonies. On the sensor screen, Woo Jin tracked the energy buildup in the Dominion ships. Orbital bombardment begins in 3 minutes, sir. Any word from our transport ships? Na-young reports all civilians are aboard and ready to launch on your order. Hyunwoo had to make a choice. If he ordered the transports to launch now, the Dominion ships would destroy them. If he waited for Earth fleet, the orbital bombardment might kill everyone on the ground. Tell Na-young to wait. Earth fleet will clear the orbital space. Sir, Minho said quietly, what if they don't arrive in time? Then we die fighting. But we don't run. 2 minutes passed, then 1. On the screen, they could see the Dominion ships beginning to fire. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, turning buildings into smoke and fire. Incoming transmission, Yunji called out. It's Admiral Vextar. The alien commander's face filled the screen. He looked angry and desperate. Commander Hyunwoo, you have caused me great trouble. But this ends now. In 60 seconds, my entire fleet will fire on your position. Surrender immediately or watch your world burn. Admiral Vextar. Hyunwoo stood up straight, facing the screen. I have a counteroffer for you. What? Look behind you. For a moment, the alien looked confused. Then his black eyes went wide with shock. Alarms began sounding on his bridge, and his officers started shouting in their harsh language. On the sensor screen, Woo Jin was staring at readings that seemed impossible. Sir, I'm detecting massive gravitic distortions throughout the system. Translation drives, lots of them. Space itself seemed to tear open around the Dominion fleet. Holes in reality appeared like wounds in the darkness, and through those holes came the ships of Earth's 7th Fleet. But it wasn't just the 7th Fleet. My God, Ji-hoon whispered, reading the sensor data. That's the 5th Fleet too. And the 3rd and the 9th. More holes opened in space. More ships poured through. Hundreds of them. The largest fleet that humanity had ever assembled was translating into the Kepler system, and they were appearing directly in the middle of the Dominion formation. Sir, Woo Jin's voice was full of awe. I count over 500 Earth fleet ships. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers. They brought everything. On Vextar's transmission, chaos had erupted on the alien bridge. Officers ran between stations, trying to understand what was happening. The Admiral himself looked terrified. This is Admiral Sunwoo of Earth Fleet, a new voice came over all frequencies. Dominion vessels, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons immediately and prepare to be boarded. Vextar found his voice. This is impossible. Earth fleet is scattered across the galaxy. You cannot have assembled so many ships. Admiral Vextar. Sun Wu's voice was calm and cold. You made a mistake when you attacked a human colony. You see, when one of our people calls for help, we all come running. The battle began immediately. Earth fleet ships opened fire from point-blank range, their weapons cutting through Dominion shields like paper. The enemy had been caught completely off guard, their ships scattered and unprepared for close combat. But the Dominion fought back. Their ships were larger and more heavily armed than individual Earth fleet vessels. What followed was the largest space battle in human history. Sir, Yunji called out, Admiral Sun Wu is requesting communication. The Admiral's face appeared on screen. Behind him, the bridge was busy but calm. Commander, are your people secure? The civilians are in transport ships ready to launch when you clear the orbital space. Consider it cleared. My fighters are escorting your transports to safety now. How are you holding up down there? We're still here, Admiral. Good man. Hold your position a little longer. We're going to finish this quickly. Through the command center's thick walls, they could hear that the ground fighting had stopped. The Dominion troops were retreating to their landing ships, trying to get back to their fleet. On the sensor screen, the space battle raged. Earth fleet ships moved in perfect coordination, their smaller size letting them dodge the massive Dominion weapons while concentrating fire on single targets. One by one, enemy ships went dark. Sir, Wu Jin reported, the Dominion flagship is trying to ram Admiral Sun Wu's ship. They watched on the sensors as Vextar's damaged vessel accelerated toward the Earth fleet flagship. It was a desperate move by a desperate commander, but Sun Wu was ready. His ship rolled aside at the last moment, and a squadron of Earth fleet destroyers opened fire on the Dominion flagship's engines. Vextar's ship spun out of control, venting atmosphere and debris. This is Admiral Sun Wu to all Dominion vessels. The Admiral's voice came over the communication system. Your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is scattered. Surrender now and we will treat your crews with honor. One by one, the surviving Dominion ships powered down their weapons. The battle was over. Hyunwoo sat down in his command chair for the first time in hours. Around him, his people were crying and laughing and hugging each other. They had done the impossible. They had held until help arrived. Commander, Sun Wu's voice came from the communication system. This is Admiral Sun Wu. Permission to come aboard? Permission granted, Admiral. Welcome to Kepler Colony.